Kristine Berzina is head of geopolitics and also a senior fellow at the American-based think tank, the German Marshall Fund, and she joins me now live from Washington. Thank you for joining us here on BBC News. First off, let's just go back to the motivations and how we actually got here. Why is Russia doing this?
So Russia has, over in 2021 and especially throughout the fall, really increased its military presence on the border of Ukraine. This military presence has been paired now with a set of demands that Russia wrote, especially to the United States, which in effect, Russia is asking to turn back history. They're very upset about the notion that Ukraine could join NATO at some point. NATO has an open door policy. They're interested in having that closed. And they're also concerned about the fact that there was an expansion of NATO and a Western military alliance after the Cold War. In their demands, they would like to see things go back to the way they were in the early 90s in terms of the Western military presence. That, of course, is an unreasonable set of demands when you look at the principles that underlie the West, including NATO as an institution.
Why does, so obviously President Putin, like you said, wants to go back to the past in terms of Russia and its relationship with the West and also its satellite territories, or how he sees them. Just how realistic are those demands, and what's going to be the likely response from the US, for example?
These are demands that President Putin has had. He has talked about the fall of the Soviet Union as the greatest tragedy of the 20th century. These are very meaningful to him, but also these resonate with the Russian population, a sense of injury and embarrassment about how the 20th century turned out. So he has some maneuverability among his population to do this. But the kind of demands he has set out, the fact that they are public, normally these kind of demands that he put in through quiet, secret diplomatic channels, the fact that these have been published openly, they repeatedly refer to them in press conferences internationally and domestically. In a way, we just heard that Putin has painted himself into the corner, and I agree with that. He has set out demands that the West is not going to meet. It's fundamental to NATO to have an open door for countries not only like Ukraine, but potentially to Sweden, to Finland. This has been a core idea behind the alliance. And being able to protect its members right now means you can't go back to a military arrangement circa middle of the 1990s, which means the West will not and the US cannot meet the demands Putin has set out. If he doesn't have more reasonable demands, there's really limited place to go on this, which is why people are so afraid that there could be an armed military conflict. There's no off-ramp.
Let's just concentrate very quickly on NATO. How united are they and all of its allies as an organisation in how to deal with Russia? I'm particularly interested in Germany.
Germany is a hard one. When you look at the top line principles, what Olaf Scholz says, yes, Germany is concerned. Germany has vowed that there would be significant consequences to Russia should it further invade Ukraine. But there are problems lower down. We saw in the last 24 hours a German admiral in India talk about the fact that he does not see the threat to be the same way as the big US analysis or UK analysis is right now. Then you had the German Defense Ministry renounce that comment, say that does not reflect the official position. But there's concern that Germany is not fully on board, and Germany did not allow Estonia to send German arms from Estonia to Ukraine also recently, which has many wondering, is Germany really on board? And is Germany seeing the conflict in the same way that the rest of the alliance is?
Yeah, could well scupper how they move forward, isn't it, as a key member of NATO. Going back to Putin, is he as strong a man, a character, an individual, as he likes to be portrayed? Because there are many people saying that the narrative at home is towards distracting what's actually going on. So he's moving outside his borders, to distract people from their issues at home, their economic problems, for example.
That is absolutely part of this. Russia, in many ways, has not developed as well as neighboring countries have over the past decades. This is not a point of pride, and instead pride that needs to be found elsewhere, which is where an external action can come in. I was saying earlier that there is a sense of grievance broadly about the 90s and what happened since, and that gives Putin some maneuverability. but he isn't able to do, he's not running North Korea. He doesn't have a limitless mandate. And so I think, the potential for a drawn out and bloody war is something that people in Russia do not want. So the balance of wanting to increase its perception of power globally would have to be balanced with what the real cost of that would be domestically and how it really affects the population, including soldiers and families. And that, I think, is the biggest limiting factor for him.
Okay, well, we'll see how the story develops. Kristine Berzina, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.